Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold, and today we're going to make a high protein salad. Just a simple salad, not a complicated, but it is high in protein. I have a number of ingredients that I'm going to be putting in there. I'll be putting in a zucchini, let's try this again. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold, and today we're going to be making a simple salad, but it is a high protein salad. Now, I get a little bit ticked off when I read about or hear people saying, "Oh, I don't have any protein in my diet," or "You don't have any," because they don't have any protein, official protein at a buffet, that there's no protein there. Well, if they have certain foods, there's lots of protein in there: legumes, lentils, all kinds of food, all kinds of vegetables have protein in it. So we're going to be showing you some of those things. Now, so I can go on to a whole rant about that. But anyway, you can live very comfortably without any animal protein. Animal protein is really bad for the environment, bad for the body. You get high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and even can get cancer from eating meat. So, why go that path when you can save the planet and have a healthy diet? So why not just eat plant-based protein? Lots of protein out there, lots of stuff. And you can have this one that's got a high level of protein in it. So if anyone's worried about it, it's got all the goodies in it. So we're going to be putting in there some chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans. We'll be putting in, the recipe called for spelt berries. I have not been able to find spelt berries or spelt pearls, which is also fairly high in protein. But I did find, decided to get some couscous. It works really well in this recipe. It's not as high in protein, but it is pretty good in protein. We'll be putting in some carrots, some cucumber, some peppers, mayonnaise. This is my vegan mayonnaise, and putting in some apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, a little bit of salt, a little bit of dill, and some basil, fresh basil. The recipe calls for other basil, dried basil. The recipe also calls for putting in things like celery and some parsley, which are nice. I didn't have any around, and I'm not a big fan of just going out and getting parsley for the sake of a simple recipe. It didn't seem like it needed that crunchiness. Going to get enough crunchiness from the cucumber and from the carrots and from the red onion. Red onion is good as well, so that's all going to give you that good, nice, crunchy texture in that. And creaminess is coming from vegan mayonnaise, which I just made up a batch because I didn't have quite enough. Calls for about a half cup, and I only had a couple of tablespoons left, so I just made up a quick batch. If you want to know how to make that vegan mayonnaise, you can go back and look at one of my first episodes, one or two of the Unorthodox Vegan, which I cover how to make that vegan mayonnaise. Simple instructions: 1/2 cup of water mixed with 1/3 of a cup of soy milk powder. Now I use the soy milk powder because I don't drink soy milk normally. Just goes bad if I have it in the fridge for too long. So I don't drink the liquid, but I do make up my own mayonnaise using soy milk powder. My wife likes the oat milk, so that's why I go with that path. But anyway, to make the vegan mayonnaise, you mix 1/2 cup of water with 1/3 cup of powdered soy milk. Mix it together, blend it, use a spoon. That's all I do, is just use a spoon, get it nicely mixed together. Add in 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, and that absorbs. Then it's got enough liquidy. It's a nice, fairly thick liquid, or almost a paste. Once you do that, add in another teaspoon. Put in a teaspoon of salt, and that's all the ingredients except for the magic one. So you get that mixed together and add in almost a cup, not quite a full cup, 7/8 of a cup of canola oil. And you can dump it in all at once, or you can drizzle it in and have a blender going. And I use an immersion blender. And what I do is I just dump it all in into the other mix that has already been mixed together by hand. I usually just use a spatula to mix it together. Get that going, and then I add in dump in the oil, almost 7/8 of a cup, as I said, of canola oil, and then just use an immersion blender, work it through, give it a good mixing. Use a spatula to move it around, make sure you get all the stuff at the bottom and the edges and all that, and just give it a good blending for a while, for about a couple, 2 or 3 minutes at least. And once you've done that, it becomes very rich and creamy and thick. Put it in pour it out into a jar, put it in the fridge. It'll keep for a few weeks. And it is delicious. It's healthy. It's got the same consistency as stuff you buy in a store, and a heck of a lot cheaper and a lot easier to make in the last minute if you want to get it. So it's wonderful. Okay, so those are going to be the ingredients. I'm just going to chop up the cucumber, chop up the carrots, the peppers, about a quarter of a red onion. This is a large red onion. I like red onion. I'm going to have that in there. And I've already cooked up the I didn't, as I said, I didn't have spelt berries, but I did put in couscous, so I've already cooked up that, and I'll be mixing this around and dumping that in there. And not all of that, that's a fair amount, but I'll be putting in, I think it's called for, the full recipe called for a cup of the spelt berries, and that makes up quite a bit once it absorbs the water. But it's just too much salad, so I'll be putting in probably half that amount. I put it about half that amount with a couple of carrots, one cucumber, half of a English cucumber. The full recipe calls for a full cucumber, but I don't think we need that much. And I'll be putting in, this recipe also calls for two 15-ounce cans of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. I'm putting in a 19-ounce can, and I'll drain it first. You don't need to rinse it, but I will drain it, get all of the chickpea liquid out of there, which is really good as to just save it because it can be used whipped up if you want to have like make a whipped cream out of it. Anyway, it's really good for other purposes, so I keep it in the fridge for as long as I can, and then if I don't use it, I just dump that out and replace it with another can that I've got. Anyway, be back in a minute once I get everything chopped up. As you can see, I've been busy. I emptied out that first can, that can of chickpeas, that 19-ounce can of chickpeas, and I put in about a little over a little over a quarter, sorry, a little over a quarter of a cup of mayonnaise in that. Dump that into that bowl there. And I have been chopping. And one of the things I forgot to mention was that there is, it says a teaspoon of minced garlic. Well, I like garlic, so I got a little more than a teaspoon of that. I did about 3 cloves of that, got the garlic in there. And I had fresh basil, so I got my fresh basil, putting that in there, and I've minced that up. I've got, I put in a couple of carrots. It only says one, and for the full recipe, and I'm putting in 2, so what the heck. Plus I've had, instead of using the green peppers, I'm putting in some red pepper because I had that in the fridge. And instead of peeling the cucumber, the English cucumber, the whole cucumber, I did not peel it, and I put in half of that cucumber, English cucumber. More importantly, is that let's see, I was going to say, you take out the seeds in the middle. It's one thing you should be doing for any cucumber if you're making a salad, because the seeds the seeds are pretty mushy, and it can add too much liquid and gets kind of gross, can be gross. So I just take out the seed sections just as I'm cutting them up. I slice out the seed section, and you can use that for a smoothie, or you can use it for other things such as just eating it directly. It's healthy, it's good food, so it's all great. So this is all those veggies in there, and I'm now going to put in what would normally be the spelt, but this is going to be this couscous. I'm going to put in about 3/4 of what I made. So getting in a bunch of that, and then I'm just going to mix this around. And I'm also putting in a teaspoon of dill powder, and a little bit of salt, not very much salt, just a touch bit, but maybe a half a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I buy it in the bulk, so I just transfer it into these smaller containers. So 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I'll be putting in 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And it'd be nice to use fresh lemon, but I don't know. I think it's probably better for the environment to use, if you can't grow it your own locally, than to use the bottled stuff. So that's what I do. It'd be nice to be able to get this in bulk. Now that's all that's going in there, and now it's just mixing it around and making it into. Now that couscous is kind of lumpy, so it's going to be just mixing this around, getting this all in, and then putting this into the fridge because it was warmed up from the cooking the couscous. Again, it was the recipe called for spelt, which is higher in protein. Not that there isn't protein already in couscous, but it's not as much. There's actually protein in most of the ingredients in here. Even the red onion has some protein in it, and the cucumber has some, not as much, but it has some, that they do have protein in it. So all the stuff has protein because nature is filled with it. And of course, the chickpeas are loaded with it. So they have, or garbanzo beans, they're loaded with protein, so they are great. Now I made, so there you go. I made this recipe a few days ago. Made another recipe and gobbled it all up over a period of a few days, and it's a lot. So there's a lot of food in here. It's a lot of salad in here. So if you're having a party, this is a really good meal, either in and of itself, because it's got vegetables, it's got protein, it's got all you could possibly want. It makes a nice, healthy snack, really healthy snack, and it is tasty. So I highly recommend that you just make this up. Give it a shot. Now, the recipe for this is going to be found at that SREG, that Environmental Sustainability Rotary Reaction Group.org, that ESRAG.org website. And the recipe is day 6 is the one all about protein. And I think I did another recipe from that day, because there was about 3 or 4 recipes in there. One of them was the salad, and I wanted to try that. I did that separately. And then on day 7, which we'll start covering next week, there'll be some recipes there focusing on calcium. So that's what I'll be looking at next. You can get all of the nutrients that you need in life from plants, including B12, vitamin B12. That's the one thing that is always saying that, in order to get the iron, which you need in a healthy diet, you need some vitamin B12 to help absorb the iron. And there's lots of iron out there in kale and seaweed and stuff like that. But the places where you can get the most, and spinach, of course, and I love spinach. I go through 40 ounces every 2 weeks because I love my spinach wrap. Anyway, the B12 comes in, I think it is in 2, I have to remember what they were. Vitamin B12 is found naturally in seaweed. So if you get nori, which I use nori for other things, for many other things, which is especially if you want a fishy kind of flavor. So I had vegan salmon steaks I made for my wife the other day, and myself, and I love those. And if you use the nori has lots of vitamin B12 in it. So there you go. It's got the iron, and vitamin B12 helps absorb the iron in your body and gets you what you really need. The other thing that has lots of vitamin B12 in it, which I did not know about that, is nutritional yeast. The nutritional yeast is that powder, that orangey, yellowy orange powder that makes a really nice cheesy taste. Adds a really nice cheesy taste to mixes that you're doing, any kind of foods. And I'm going to be doing one in the near future. I'm be making a spicy cheese, a nacho cheese sauce that you can use for tacos and nachos and stuff like that. And that one uses a lot of nutritional yeast. So you're going to get your vitamin B12 in there, helps you absorb the iron, and everything is good. Okay. Normally, I would put this in a fridge and let it cool down before I would do a taste test. But, I feel like doing it right now. It's not that bad. I'd let it cool down a little bit. So let's give it a taste test. Oh, the lemon juice and the apple cider vinegar are coming through. So it's got a nice little tang to it. The red onions give it that little bit of a bite, but not a hard bite. And the crunchy vegetables, just nice. And then there's the garbanzo beans, which are really healthy. Absolutely wonderful. Whatever you got in the fridge, you can put into your salads. Salads are the easiest thing in the world to cook and to make. In this case, this one is focusing on protein. So the spelt, if you can get spelt, berries, not the flour. I couldn't find anything locally easily, so I sat there and said, what the heck, I'll just use some couscous. It's lower in protein, but it's got the stuff. The garbanzo beans, or chickpeas, whatever you want to call them, have tons of protein in them. And of course, natural vegetables do have a certain amount of protein regardless. There you have it. This recipe is called the PCC Perfect Protein Salad. PCC for the organization that put together the recipe. Again, if you go to the ESRAG, which is Environmental Sustainability Rotary Reaction Group.org website, you can find this under their 15-day plant-rich diet challenge. And as always, you can reach me on my email address up here, which is vrcompanions@gmail.com. Of course, please follow me on my YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/@the_unorthodox_vegan. Until next time, my name is Sean Gold. Have yourself a wonderful day. Bye for now.